Hi there, I'm Ben Swann, the Cincinnati journalist who's become best known for two words, reality check. I'm the journalist who first questioned President Obama about his kill list, and the first journalist who called out Republicans for scripting rule changes at the RNC. Oh, and the first reporter in the nation to investigate the chain of command and to actually name names in that IRS targeting scandal. When I first began producing and reporting Reality Check, I had no idea what I was creating. I thought I would produce a local news segment, investigate some stories in depth, talk about things no one else in mainstream media was discussing. So I talked about it. Stories like the truth behind the Patriot Act, internet bills like CISPA, and the president's kill list. Why is the U.S. funding al-Qaeda in Syria? It turns out I wasn't the only one interested in those stories. In 2.5 years, Reality Check and Full Disclosure have been viewed over 10 million times in over 140 countries. Reality Check has become one of the most, if not the most successful news segment ever. Without question, people here in the U.S. and around the world are craving real investigative journalism. That's why I was fortunate to connect with Jeremy Richter of Richter Studios. Together, we put together a pilot for a show called Ben Swann Full Disclosure, a show that we believe connects mainstream and alternative media and investigating stories that the nation isn't getting anywhere else.
Third parties' independence will cease to exist. If you like the Libertarian Party, the Green Party, American Independent Party, Constitution Party, done. They are gone. In California and Washington State, same thing, sterilizes political cleansing. There used to be dozens of people running for office. Now there's only a few. Again, the parties will cease to exist. Arizona, if it passes in November, it will spread across the country. The money behind it is already prepared to pass it in 5-10 more states right after that. So we have to nip it in the bud and vote no in Arizona, Prop 121.
Can a president, any president, order a terrorist death? What if that terrorist is a U.S. citizen? What if that U.S. citizen is just the son of a terrorist? Is the president bound by a document called the U.S. Constitution? I'll share with you what President Obama said about that when I asked him one-on-one. We're giving his answers a reality check. The so-called presidential kill list that's gotten a lot of attention, and this list of folks who have been targeted for assassination. Right. And on that list have been U.S. citizens who have not been afforded trial, including Anwar al-Awlaki. How do you, as president, or any president for that matter, regardless of party or person, utilize that power to assassinate even U.S. citizens?
Well, first of all, you're basing this on reports in the news that have never been confirmed by me, and I don't talk about our national security decisions in that way.
Well, what an answer. The president won't confirm that list, but he won't deny its existence either. Okay, but let's add another layer here. Because that presidential kill list didn't get out because of hard-nosed journalists who were breaking the story. In that two-shot, I nodded my head when the president said that he hadn't confirmed these reports, and that's true. But who has? To the New York Times, William Daley, President Obama's chief of staff in 2011, talked openly about that kill list, saying the administration knew they couldn't simply just go on adding more names indefinitely. Dennis Blair, director of national intelligence until he was fired in May of 2010, said that discussions inside the White House of long-term strategy against al-Qaeda were sidelined by the intense focus on strikes of targets on the presidential kill list. Well, we create that show concept because we know it can educate Americans about major issues of the day, doing actual journalism. You know, like it used to be when journalists actually held lawmakers accountable and stood for the people instead of for advertisers and political friends. And that brings us to Kickstarter. Remember the 2008 and 2012 Republican presidential primaries? Voters fed up with the two-party system and with big money controlling our elections launched something called the money bomb, a method of crowdsourcing political donations directly from the people instead of from special interest groups. December 16, 2007, supporters of Congressman Ron Paul made history. They raised over $6 million in one day. It broke every previous single-day presidential fundraising record. An incredible effort. It wasn't the only one of its kind. The money bomb changed everything. When I interviewed Dr. Paul several weeks ago, he told me what a game changer the money bomb was for his campaign.
It was amazing that happened. It was spontaneous. It wasn't top down. It was people who agreed with the message, and they spontaneously spread this information through the internet. And I remember shortly that particular day when we raised like $6 million and broke all kind of records, I would go to the floor, and other members of the Congress who were friends but not philosophic allies, and sit down and say, "Ron, it is great. We're really impressed." They weren't impressed with my message, but they were impressed that I raised $6 million one day. Tell me what the technique is. How do you do this? They had no idea. They thought it was some way that we had some secret information on how to use the internet. But the internet was being used spontaneously by a lot of people, and we're actually spreading this message. So I think that's a big difference, but I think it just opens up the door for us.
Yeah, it was Dr. Paul's story that got me thinking. If people can support a presidential campaign in order to demand change, why not crowdsource funding for journalism to represent the people? Kickstarter gives us that ability. With this Kickstarter, Liberty is Rising Truth in Media project, we will create 100 5-minute digital cinema episodes of Ben Swann Full Disclosure. Episodes that will be informative, investigative, and fearless. At the same time, the quality of our digital cinema product will rival any network news program in America. If we want to educate the masses, we have to do so in a manner that's deemed both credible and professional. Jeremy Richter of Richter Studios can explain it much better than I ever could.
One of the ways we believe we'll get viewers to be more receptive to future content is by addressing the production quality. Okay, so what do we mean by production quality? Well, put simply, production quality is not only the audio-video quality of the show itself, but also the kind of guests we feature. And to speak to the first part, all shows funded through the Kickstarter effort will be filmed using some of the best digital cinema cameras on the planet. That means we'll be filmed with 35mm optics and in a much greater resolution than high definition. Additionally, Mr. Swann will be presenting his segments in a world-class studio, and the finished episodes will be accompanied by modern graphics treatments. Now, as I've been in the film industry for over 15 years, these are things I know I can deliver on. In fact, some of you may be familiar with the film Electable that I donated last year regarding the suppression of media coverage about Ron Paul. Some of you may also have seen this imagery of Mr. Swann on his Facebook and YouTube pages. This too was shot at my studio, and we feel that this kind of quality, married with Mr. Swann's approach to investigative journalism, will be a powerful combination in winning hearts and minds.
We want this project to be meaningful. We also want it to be a lot of fun. We've created some amazing incentives on this page. Everything from your very own Liberty is Rising t-shirt to being on conference calls as we organize the subject matter for our reports. Even being able to come out and hang with us here at Richter Studios as we record episodes. Look, using crowdsourcing to launch a journalism project of this size, it's never been attempted before, but I'm confident in trusting the market to support this. After all, as I said, you guys are the inventors of the money bomb. What I want is to restore power. Power in politics, power in law, power in media to you, the people. The Truth in Media project means I get to cover the important stories happening around us without any compromise. Please help me to expand an honest brand of journalism so that I can continue to inform and educate Americans in the way they learn best, through media, and then put into practice action steps to do more than just talk about what's wrong in America. I promise to launch a platform that will actually do something to change it. Thanks for listening.